The ancient Sri Lankan chronicle Kavasat describes this location as a huge forest that was transformed into a hill and eventually chosen as the capital by King Kashyapa, AD 477 to 495. This rock was the site of his palace, which he adorned with bright frescoes. About halfway up the rock side, he carved a massive lion's head as a doorway. Shangairi, meaning Lion Rock, is the source of the area's moniker. The origin is similar to that of Sinhapura, the Sanskrit name of Singapore. After the monarch died, he left behind an abandoned capital and palace. It was a Buddhist monastery until the early Middle Ages. 3. Today, Sigiriya is recognized as a World Heritage Site by UNESCO. It's a prime illustration of how ancient cities were designed and constructed. The vicinity of Sigiriya most certainly has a long history of human habitation. There is no doubt that Buddhist monks and ascetics lived in the numerous rock shelters and caves around as early as the 3rd century BC. The Aligala rock shelter to the east of Sigiriya Rock is the earliest indication of human settlement there, proving that the region was inhabited over 5,000 years ago during the Mesolithic period. The vicinity of Sigiriya most certainly has a long history of human habitation. There is no doubt that Buddhist monks and ascetics lived in the numerous rock shelters and caves around as early as the 3rd century BC. The Aligala rock shelter to the east of Sigiriya Rock is the earliest indication of human settlement there, proving that the region was inhabited over 5,000 years ago during the Mesolithic period. King Kashyapa is identified as the son of King Dathasena in the Kavasa. Then, Kashyapa usurped the throne that belonged to his half-brother Moggallana, Dathasena's child with the real queen, by walling up his father alive. In order to avoid being killed by Kashyapa, Moggallana fled to India. However, he promised to exact revenge. He gathered an army in India with the goal of returning to Sri Lanka and reclaiming the kingdom he believed was rightly his. Kashyapa is reported to have constructed his palace on the summit of Sigiriya as a fortress as well as a pleasure palace since he anticipated the inevitable return of Moggallana. In 495 CE, Moggallana finally made his appearance, declared war, and vanquished Kashyapa. Kashyapa's army deserted him during the battle, and he killed himself by falling on his sword. Following a coup supported by the king's nephew and army commander Megara in 477 AD, Kashyapa I, the king's son by a non-royal wife, took the throne from King Datusena. The legitimate successor, Moggallana, escaped to South India out of fear for his life. Kashyapa relocated the government seat and the country's traditional capital, Anuradhapura, to the safer Sigiriya out of fear of a Moggallana onslaught. In the 3rd century BC, Buddhist monastic communities were founded on the western and northern slopes of the boulder-strewn hills that surrounded the Sigiriya Rock. During this time, numerous rock caves or shelters were built. These cave openings were surrounded by carved drip ledges, and shelters were built below big stones. Many of the shelters include rock carvings at the drip ledges that chronicle the giving of the shelters to the Buddhist monastic order as homes. Between the 3rd century BCE and the 1st century AD, these were created. According to the Kavasa and mythology, Kashyapa was mounted on a battle elephant that shifted course to gain a tactical advantage, but the army mistook the movement for the monarch choosing to flee and abandoned him completely. It is reported that because he was too proud to accept help, he pulled a dagger from his waistband, slit his victim's neck, displayed the blade with pride, sheathed it, and then passed away. Sigiriya was transformed into a Buddhist monastery complex by Moggallana, who relocated the capital to Anuradhapura. This complex remained in existence until the 13th or 14th century. Sigiriya is not mentioned again after this time until the 16th and 17th centuries, when the kingdom of Kandy briefly used it as an outpost. According to some other legends, King Dathasena was the main architect of Sigiriya, with Kashyapa completing it in tribute to his father. In still other legends, Kashyapa is depicted as a playboy king who made Sigiriya his palace of pleasure. It's unclear what will ultimately happen to Kashyapa. He is often killed by poison given to him by a concubine, while in other stories he kills himself by cutting his neck after deserting his last fight. 6. A Buddhist community, rather than serving a military purpose, is said to have created the location, according to still other theories. It's possible that this location played a significant role in the conflict between the Theravada and Mahayana Buddhist schools. You seem to have a solid understanding of the historical section of Sigiriya. If you learn anything about it, kindly subscribe to my channel. To be continued part 02.